Here's another story I want to talk about. So remember when the Washington Post in September told us how Russia probably blew up its own pipeline with this laughable article? This is the Washington Post, okay, with this picture of Putin in a submersible vehicle. Like, this is the Washington Post. Nord Stream sabotage mapped. How Putin could have carried out the attack. The apparent sabotage of the pipeline between Russia and Germany may well have been set up months ago by Russia.
Speaking of Despicable Me.
I love that little submersible vehicle. Like, it has nothing to do with it. It was on a... anyway.
That imagery, though, specifically looks like it's straight out of Despicable Me.
Yes. Like he's Gru. Like in...
they actually do, in the second one, use machines just like that to go undersea for him to be, like, pulled back into the ring of darkness.
So in that photo, like he's like, hey guys, don't take a picture of me. I'm going down to literally map out how I can blow up my own pipeline, which enriches my country, and that we spent $11 billion building. Like, just don't let this photo get out.
Very much implying in that photo and the headline that it wasn't like the Putin regime that did it. No. Putin himself, right, in his little submarine, popped on down there and blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Like, I love that. Like, they beep, really beep. Think highly of the guy. Like,
I'm going to plant the bomb right now. I did it. Poo-poo. So yes, the Washington Post is a joke. It's owned by billionaire Jeff Bezos. Last week, they had to lay off a large number of employees because their subscriber numbers have plummeted by tens of thousands. I think they've lost upwards of 500,000 subscribers. Really?
Is that true?
You're not paying for the Washington Post anymore? Wow. No, guess that you have to lay off these journalists. People like, why does Taylor Lorenz still have a job at the Washington Post? They kept her on staff. Anyway, so this is karma for your propaganda, Washington Post. So maybe they learned their lesson. I don't know, because this morning, the Washington Post is now reporting that there is no conclusive evidence that Russia was behind the Nord Stream attack.
Now, it seems that they spoke to about 24 people from 9 different countries, investigators, state employees, heads of state. They could not find it.
Yeah. And we figured this one out months ago. We worked this one out for ourselves, like months ago.
There is a little bit of language in the article if you seek it out yourself. It's like,
we will. We're going to go through in a second.
Okay. Like, maybe, but we're pretty sure no.
So why would Russia attack its own pipeline that it spent billions of dollars to build and then bring them major profits from delivering oil and gas? So let's just, let's actually go through this here. I'm going to pull this up. So here we go. This is no conclusive evidence Russia is behind Nord Stream attack. All right. So after explosions in late September severely damaged undersea pipelines built to carry natural gas from Russia to Europe, world leaders quickly blamed Moscow for a brazen and dangerous act of sabotage. So they couched it around that. With winter approaching, it appeared the Kremlin intended to strangle the flow of energy to millions across the continent. An act of blackmail, some leaders said, designed to threaten countries into withdrawing their financial and military support for Ukraine. But now, after months of investigation, do you buy that for a second? Like, the Washington Post has just been really in the trenches. Like, so they've spent months now investigating a story to bring you the truth. So why the hell did you release a story almost immediately with a piece of propaganda and a picture of Putin in a submersible vehicle saying that Russia was likely behind the attack? Like, wouldn't good journalism take months to complete? Why the hell did you rush out a piece of propaganda immediately? Anyway, there's no evidence at this point that Russia was behind the sabotage, they say, said one European official, echoing the assessment of 23 other people in 9 countries that the Washington Post has interviewed in recent weeks. Some went so far as to say that they didn't think Russia was responsible. Others, who still consider Russia a prime suspect, said positively attributing the attack to any country may be impossible.
Impossible, you say?
Really? Forensics on an investigation like this are going to be exceedingly difficult, said a senior U.S. State Department official. I'm glad you quoted a senior U.S. State Department official. Why would it be that difficult? It's actually, these pipes are in relatively shallow water in this area, actually. Not that difficult. Not that difficult at all, actually. The United States routinely intercepts communications of Russian officials and military forces, they say, a clandestine intelligence officer effort that helped accurately forecast Moscow's February invasion of Ukraine. But so far, analysts have not heard or read statements from Russia taking credit for their involvement. Oh.
I mean, that's like... That doesn't seem very precise way to investigate things. That's like putting on polyjuice potion and trying to, or taking the polyjuice potion, like dressing up as someone else's ally and saying, do you want to tell me something? Like, there's got to be better ways.
Put on like a mustache and I brought my vodka. Would you like to, you have something you'd like to get off mind? Tell me about, I don't know, something that happened in September that was in the ocean. You want to tell me a story? Let's drink and I'll report it back. So attributing the attack from the start has been, they say challenging from the start. And then they go on to say in this piece, given the relatively shallow depth of the damaged pipelines, approximately 80 yards at the site of one explosion, a number of different actors could theoretically have pulled off the attack, possibly with the use of a submersible drone or with the aid of surface ships, officials said. Yeah, do you know that Russia has come out multiple times and said, we have the footage. Here's the video. Here is the actual footage. And here is the evidence that British dive ships were right there. You want to see them? You want to see that? Because this isn't in our waters. This is outside of our territorial waters.
It does seem like no one sourced in this story is actually Russian. They asked around, if you really were interested, you might call up Russia for their opinion too. It's like, we're only trying to see if we can find a way to pin it on you. We don't want to talk to you at all.
Yeah.
So
no one took
a page out of the guys that did the study on the Great Barrier Reef took a page out of their playbook. Like, we don't actually want to get the information and go there. We just want to find people that have.
Yes, it's great symmetry.
Sorry.
Have you been on vacation to the Great Barrier Reef? We'd like to interview you for our new climate study. So no one was seriously interested in this, and no one really actually believed that Russia was responsible. No one watching this show back over the summer when this all happened and unfolded believed for 1 second that Russia was responsible, especially when you had the United States telling us that they would destroy this pipeline. Listen.
With regard to Nord Stream 2, we continue to have very strong and clear conversations with our German allies, and I want to be clear with you today. If Russia invades Ukraine, one way or another, Nord Stream 2 will not move forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one way to have it not move forward, is to blow it up with the help of Germans. So no thanks to the Associated Press, which told us at the time that, hey, if you think that the U.S. was involved in this, caused the damage to this pipeline, that you are a Trump-loving member of QAnon. This is what the Associated Press said. The suggestion that the United States caused the damage was circulating on online forums popular with American conservatives and followers of Q, and a conspiracy theory movement which asserts that Trump is fighting a battle against child trafficking sect that controls world events. It's hilarious to see, then you realize, the child trafficking events that we've now unfolded, how many tens of thousands of child trafficking accounts have been shut down on Twitter, and Jeffrey Epstein goes to prison. It's it's kind of hilarious that they want to mock this as a fake thing. And it's literally happening before our eyes. And the Associated Press gets off by saying that anyone that thought that the U.S. was involved in this was clearly a member of some conspiracy theory website. Okay. Television was worse. Here's one of the worst human beings on the planet, former CIA war criminal John Brennan, to tell us why he thinks it's Russia.
Do you think Russia's behind the sabotage of the pipelines?
Well, I think all the signs point to some type of sabotage. These pipelines are only in about 200 feet or so of water, and Russia does have an undersea capability that would easily lay explosive devices by those pipelines. And I do think it's a signal to Europe that Russia can reach beyond Ukraine's borders. So who knows what he might be planning next? But I think this is clearly an act of sabotage of some sort, and Russia is certainly the most likely suspect.
Yeah, clearly. Thought long and hard about that one.
I just don't even understand how she asked that question with a straight face. Like, you have no context
Right.
here? You can really ask that question? Then you are a part of the problem. That shows how much you are asking the questions that the American government wants to spin.
Yeah, exactly. A mouthpiece of the intelligence state. Even Fox.
Well, he also handled that.
Go ahead.
He also handled that. Sorry, I know, but he handled that so well because she said, "Do you think Russia did it?" And what he said was, "Well, it was done." Because he said, "Well, it was clearly sabotage." So he said it was done, and Russia has the capability of doing it. Therefore, Russia must have done it. But by that criteria, almost anybody with a working like submarine navy could have done it.
Yes.
Right. Anyone with
then therefore did.
Anyone with a dinghy could have done it. Like by that same logic.
That's yeah.
Even Fox News got in on the game at the time. There was only like really one voice on that channel who was like, "This is ridiculous." That was Tucker, who was like, "What kind of a moron do you have to be to think that Russia did this?" But there were plenty of morons on Fox. Here's one of them.
Why Russia is most likely behind this. I'm 99% certain of it.
Yeah. The pipeline was clearly sabotaged. Explosive material was found at the explosion location, and German officials say that they believe the responsible party is, quote, state actors. From which state, though, we don't know. Well, we have a lot of theories on this. In fact, well, I won't say it. Some people can't believe that there's no larger investigation going on and happening here.
Well, there is, though. There's one in Finland. There's one. A lot of the Nordic countries are, in fact, doing their own investigations.
That they won't let other people see.
But they have been saying, we have some proof. We really don't want. They don't want to release what they've got.
Sweden's like, we know who did it. We know it was the German Green group that was backed by the United States and NATO, and like they did it and they carried it out and it was all part of the plan. But we don't want to show that. We can't really show that.
All
and share
they
that
continue to say is we have proof that it was sabotaged, and we won't say who. And the rest of us are like, cool, moving on.
Yeah, we'll use the eco-terrorists in Germany to carry out our plan. Like, that's brilliant. Like, that's what we do in these other. That's what we do in Syria. We use Al Qaeda, right? We use terrorists to carry out our plan, and then we get to wipe our hands of it. No, the United States didn't actually press the button. We just hired other eco-terrorists to actually carry it out on our behalf. That's what we do. So here's Mick Wallace. He's Irish, and he's a great guy. He's a member of European Parliament from Ireland, and he's badass. And he just doesn't understand why there's no more larger, transparent investigation into this mess. Listen.
When Nord Stream was damaged, there was uproar from politicians and mainstream media across Europe for about 24 hours. And then it seemed to have disappeared. Now, for the life of me, I was shocked that it could go down the list of major items in the news so quickly. Initially, of course, the Russians were blamed. But common sense kind of prevailed, and they kind of thought, well, if the Russians don't want any gas going through the pipelines, they can actually turn the tap off on their end. And if they're going to blow it up, I don't think they'd blow it up quite so close to Germany or Sweden. So who did blow it up? This was one of the worst releases of methane in the history of mankind. It was environmental terrorism. I, for the life of me, don't understand why the EU doesn't want to know who did it. This is a disgrace. What is wrong with us? This is an unbelievable destructive act, and we don't want to know who did it? Is it because we know the answer? Or is it because it's the wrong answer?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the wrong answer, Mick. You nailed it. He's based. Absolutely based. He and Claire, by the way, I mean, they're, we need more people like him. Then, don't make fun of his hair. You know what? I don't care. That guy can come over to my house any day of the week.
I like that hair. I wouldn't make fun of it. But we have to, be equal opportunists. So if you're going to wear a T-shirt to Parliament, it's cool, right? Zelensky can do it.
If Mick goes to speak in front of in Congress, I hope he puts on a suit.
And if he doesn't, then he doesn't.
He doesn't.